So I wanted to do a video on how I got better through holistic health. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a detransitioner. So for a time, I believed I was non-binary and I got top surgery. And what happened was that after the top surgery, I developed complications. At first, I had trouble swallowing. Then I ended up developing Raynaud's, tinnitus, bony prominences, heat rashes, skin discoloration. I started to bruise easily. And doctors took this seriously at first. And then after they thought I had psychosomatic fever, then they stopped taking me seriously. And so from there, it was really on me to figure out how to improve my health because my doctors weren't there for me through the conventional health model. So at that point, I reached out to a naturopath who does Bowen, which is a form of Bodywork, which is like manual therapy for the body. So I remember that when she did the first Bowen session, that I was like, oh, this is what I've needed for the last 20 years, 20, 30 years. I know I've struggled with mental health issues longer than 20, but I just remember that I started feeling better. I was like, okay, this is where I need to go. This is in the right direction. So after that, I started to look into more holistic approaches. So I had heard about Wim Hof, circadian code, and then I found out about earthing. So with earthing, the idea is that it reduces inflammation through being grounded. So I remember I actually had like an anti-static band because I work with computers. I attached it to my wrist. So I took the earthing prong and I plugged it into the outlet where you ground. And then I ended up using that. So on the third day of having done this, I woke up, it was kind of weird. It was like this thought of you're going to lower your sertraline dose by half. So I went down half, which, it didn't get me off the sertraline, but I do think that earthing did play a role in my healing process. So now I have an earthing pad and I sleep on it every night. So during the second year of dealing with these health issues, I ended up watching a show called You Are Here on YouTube, and Mikhaila Peterson came on. And I was shocked because she was incredibly emotionally stable. She looked healthy. She also was she was emotionally in a place that I wanted to be. And she talked about how she was able to reverse all these health issues through going on a completely a ruminant meat diet. And I was floored. So I saw her and I saw how well she was, and I was like, okay, there must be something here. I want to try something like this. So what I did was I had been pescatarian for 10 years. And now I look back and I realize that my depression worsened after becoming a pescatarian. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try eating meat again and we're going to see how I feel. And so that Thanksgiving, I started eating meat. And it was probably a good thing because we found out later that my ferritin levels had been really low. They were a 17 and they had been 90 before. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I had dropped significantly in my ferritin levels. So I was really focusing in on eating ruminant meat, eating organ meat like liver, which is disgusting, but I ate it because I was like, I want to feel better. And that helped me as well. So at that point, I had tried a lot of the holistic methods, and I wanted to do something to address the Raynaud's in particular. And I had heard about this treatment called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And I was surprised when hearing that people had, healed wounds that were not able to heal, and how you could regrow capillaries, and that how people who would lose their hearing, if they were able to catch it in time, were able to reverse that and get their hearing back through hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I reached out to a clinic, and I was like, I couldn't afford this. So we ended up talking a little bit, and she decided to take me on as a case study. And so for this case study, I documented my Raynaud's, but interestingly enough, she documented my ADHD and anxiety as well. So I did this treatment for 60 days. So for the case study, I did 2 self-report questionnaires. And for my anxiety, and the anxiety one, I had struggled with generalized anxiety disorder. And so when I did the self-questionnaire, by the end of 60 treatments, I had gone from severe to moderate anxiety to mild anxiety. my generalized anxiety disorder had gone away. So even though I had significant improvement in my anxiety results for that case study, my ADHD self-report was shocking. I went from 72 to 6 on the self-report scale. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy was such an amazing treatment, and I do really hope that this gets looked at as a potential for dealing with mental health issues, because this is what I needed all along. So especially for patients like myself who are so treatment resistant, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is an amazing form of treatment, and there is a lot of potential there for treating mental illness, and underlying health issues that doctors are missing. So I'd done 20 years of talk therapy, including treatments like EMDR and DBT, and I had also done 2 rounds of transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy. I didn't respond well to medications, so I couldn't take those to deal with my mental health issues. So when it comes to things like gender dysphoria, we need to look at this from a holistic approach and make sure that all underlying health issues are addressed and looked into. My functional medicine doctor and naturopath had looked into labs my doctors hadn't looked into previously. They had found that I had high CRP levels, which is C-reactive protein and an inflammatory marker. I wish that my doctors had looked into inflammation and autoimmunity before doing this surgery, and I feel that this should be a requirement for everybody looking into things like top surgery. So before the top surgery, I had discomfort with my breasts and my hips. After I did these holistic treatments, the discomfort with my hips went away. So what I needed all along was to address the underlying health issue. Had I done the holistic methods of bodywork, earthing, diet, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, I would have never needed the top surgery. So I'm not a doctor and I don't have a scientific background. And I do realize that what I'm saying is anecdotal. That being said, I really want people to look into holistic treatments that are non-invasive before resorting to these highly invasive and experimental treatments.